we have had even the Chief Justice in certain instances come out and air out his frustration within the judiciary. Now, the question, of course, from Kenyans could be, we have put you there as the Chief Justice to deal with that.
Yes.
Why do you now again come out and complain to us?
Absolutely, because when the Chief Justice Mutunga was appointed, he was appointed with this air of a reformist, and Kenyans had a lot of faith that we were going to see certain changes in the judiciary. But I will cut him some slack and say that when he, for instance, has been going around saying that this country is run by cartels, it is very, very true. And my senior colleague has alluded to the fact that whilst there are a few rotten apples in the judiciary, there are also some upright men and women who are ready to dispense justice and not to engage in corruption. And the same extends to even members of a bar. I know for a fact that there is a cabal of lawyers who are extremely notorious in corrupting the judiciary. So even as a member of a bar, I sit here and I can share the blame, because these are our colleagues who are corrupting the judicial system. And this cabal is something that is actually known within legal circles. There are not more than 10 lawyers who are extremely notorious, and we know them. So that if there is a day that there is a serious agency in this country that is willing to go to the root of this matter, I am sure that the lawyers in this country are willing to provide the information that will lead to the breaking down of this cabal. But there are a very, very strong cabal. You can imagine, I am just a lawyer who has not even done 10 years, but there's a Chief Justice of the Republic who is saying that he is unable to deal with this cabal. So we have to have a concerted effort in the fight against corruption in all arms of government. Now, my senior has also alluded to the fact that we don't see convictions in courts, especially in high-profile cases. But one of the reasons, or part of the reason, is that the so-called high-profile cases that we see reported in the media or highlighted in the media, those are not true corruption cases in the strictest sense of the word, because what we have been doing as a country is playing charades with this so-called fight on corruption. We are more interested in getting people in the dock so that we can have a news bulletin saying, oh, so and so has been charged. But when you look at the substratum of those charges, we know for a fact that you cannot obtain a conviction based on some of the things that we are seeing. But the agencies that are involved in the so-called fight in corruption, they are only interested in making up numbers so that they can produce reports to say, oh, this quarter we charged 50 people and 3 of them are high-profile cases. Some of those I hope we will come to, because I have personally been involved in some of them, where the perception out there in the country is that Sifuna took 200 million shillings, because that is what has been put in the media, and that is what the accusation was. But when you look at the charge sheet itself, what was actually brought to court, it is an administrative failure, because there is a very notorious section of the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act which has anchored the bulk of the so-called corruption cases. And it is an administrative clause where they say willful or negligent failure to adhere to the laws relating to procurement. You will never see in those charges that Sifuna took 200 million shillings, as was the case in some of those NYS issues. So we make a lot of noise and we say, oh, we have charged so and so and so and so. And the perception out there in the public is that this guy took money. But the reality in the court is that they are charging you for an administrative failure.
Different.
Yes.
All right, Kinyanjui, let me come to you. And based on what Sifuna has said, first of all, do you agree that there are cartels or certain notorious lawyers who are known? And secondly, is the Chief Justice not able to deal with that? Why is he the Chief Justice?
Yeah, first of all, let me begin by your latter question, then I'll address your first question. Is the Chief Justice supposed to be the Chief Justice of this country, vested with the powers in the Constitution as the head of the judiciary? He is supposed to. Well, I give it to him that he has tried, he has attempted, but he needed to do more before his tenure comes to an end. And with tremendous respect to him, I really have nothing personal against him. I don't think he has utilized the machinery that is available to him, the resources that are being given to the judiciary, and the personnel that are available to him. How do I mean? You see that a lot of resources were poured into the judiciary during Sholei's tenure as the registrar of the courts. And what do we have today? Still longhand recording of proceedings. So the magistrate, the judge records what they think
And
you
the
are
equipment
actually
is in
saying.
court.
The equipment is still there.
Is
It's in court. It was installed
Yeah.
at a very high cost to the Kenyan taxpayer. Up to now, we do not have stenographers. Mr. Chief Justice, why didn't you roll out the stenography program? We started singing about stenography way back in the 90s, late 90s. 2000 has come, and now we are almost in the 20s now. What has happened to that system? That would actually dispense of justice, of real good, honest justice, because what you say in court has an implication on what the delivery of the justice is in the end, because then you say that I actually submitted this, and then they say that this is not the case. For instance, in this Waititu case, the judge in the High Court said something in open court. Was this election conducted in a manner consistent with the Constitution? The answer is in the negative, meaning no, it was not. But when you read his judgment, it says the direct opposite. The direct opposite. So you tell me where justice is. So we go to the Court of Appeal, and the Court of Appeal says, look, we actually find that it was not constitutional. Why? Because out of 17 constituencies in Nairobi, only 4 had credible results. 13 constituencies did not have verifiable or credible results. That's what came out. Stenography would have taken away that doubt. And everybody would have been able to point, actually, we saw this evidence. Now, the Chief Justice comes out and goes to a foreign media and says that, oh, Kenya is run by this cabal of corrupt people, including the judiciary. Hello?
You're the head of the
and you're the head of the judiciary. First of all, I say that, you know, we have this idea, oh, the Safaricom CEO should come out and tell us how to go, and, you know, about our wealth. But the law is there. Has the Chief Justice received, as of December 2015, all the judicial officers' wealth status? The wealth declaration forms are a statutory obligation. It's not something in plead.
It's not a choice.
Oh, it's not a choice. So the Chief Justice ought to have had that schedule and said, I invite you Kenyans, if you want to question anybody, come and peruse this in the privacy of my office, because that's the law. So for him to lament that, oh, you know, we have this economy run by this mafioso type of people, I fault him. I fault him. Has he gone to any of those courts while they are in session for him to witness exactly what goes on? But on the other hand, he has to play politics. So he is equipped with that equipment. Now, coming back to the other issue, is there a cabal of lawyers who are engaged? Yes, there is. And I dare say, yes, there is.
Why can't anything be done?
Why can't
if they're known?
Oh, you go report that, and the next thing is that they make telephone calls to you. Why are you doing this? Go lie low on these.
You'll be reporting to their friends, actually.
Those are their friends. It's a network. It's a network, and it has a lot of financial, profit that comes with it. Which brings me to another aspect of our own existence, of our own social existence. We are driven by greed. Why would a judge of the Supreme Court, having an earning as he earns, a driver, and all the facilities that the judiciary, everything that you would dream of, then be accused of bribery? Why would that be? There is this morbid drive of greed that Kenyans have. They want to drive a Range Rover. They don't want to work for it. They want to live in Karen in a big, huge mansion, but they don't want to work for it. So this extra source of income then has to be found. To fund that. And it is just all greed. It is all greed. So the judiciary is rotting. And what are we doing? We who would like to help clean up this, oh, the people, oh, Harrison is always attacking the government. He's attacking the judiciary. Oh, Sifuna is an ODM, affiliate, and therefore, Professor Oloo has an inclination towards whatever it is. But why don't we address what Mr. Sifuna, Mr. Oloo, Harrison is saying, and then we dissect that and remove the politics of it and say that we are actually sinking in a ship called Kenya?
Martin Oloo, is the judiciary politicized? Because that then would be a very unfortunate state for us.
I think that there are 3 levels of the judiciary that we need to understand. The first level is the magistracy. That level is fairly apolitical. It's technical, if you ask me. It's just men and women out of college and trying to do a good job. No problem. But then there's the High Court. How do you get to be appointed a judge? That's where the politics come in. And so you see that I need to know somebody in order for me to be appointed. And if I know somebody and I'm appointed, then what's my affiliation? The Court of Appeal tends to be different in the sense that it takes some experience, it takes some technical, and therefore there's a process by which some of the people who have found themselves in the Court of Appeal really come because of seasoned practice and so on. Now, the Supreme Court, as we all know, is an organ that was created not so long ago, but it comes as political as it is. And maybe let's not say that's just a Kenyan case. Even in the US, the Supreme Court is a political court in the sense that depending on whether it's Republicans or depending on what vacancies exist during a certain tenure, it will be filled by people who will be leaning towards a certain direction, whether Republican or whether Democrats. So there's a bit of politics. In other words, you cannot cut off politics, judiciary from politics. The question is, can men and women in these offices rise above partisanship? And in our case, we are in that difficulty, that we've seen the judiciary take on the colors of the political parties, and that is difficult. That's dangerous. That is okay. And let me just come back to something that my colleague Harrison said about the Chief Justice, and I want to grant him some benefit. You know that change of any organization or change takes long. Now, the Chief Justice parachuted into the judiciary from outside with all good intentions. This is a system that is founded on certain fundamental core issues. So to turn it around does not take 3 years, does not take 5 years. He's just been there 4 years or something. It's difficult to change the judiciary, or indeed even the executive, even the bureaucracy itself. It takes time. So yes, he's tried and he has met his own challenges. So is he right to come up and say Nikubaya? Of course, he has to shout. Can we blame him for not doing much more? Yes, in part, but also maybe with empathy, because we must also understand that some of these things, turning them around.
The empathy, Martin, will be on the lower side, because I know for a fact that the performance of this Chief Justice has been the subject of quite some debate. There is scathing criticism of his performance as an individual and even his intellectual capacity as a lawyer that has been raised by his colleagues on the bench. There is a judge of the industrial court who questioned his ability together with his colleagues in the Judicial Service Commission to even appreciate certain section of the Judicial Service Act. His colleagues in the Court of Appeal in Malindi, I believe, stopped short of calling him incompetent. There is a report by the Parliamentary Accounts Committee on the issues surrounding the exit of a former registrar of the judiciary, Gladys Shulei, and in that report it is scathing. The parliamentarians, the representative of the people, actually conclude that the Chief Justice Mutunga was the wrong choice, that even with all his stellar academic credentials and his record in civil service, in civil society, this probably wasn't the right fit for him. So we have institutions that have actually told us that this was the wrong man for the job. So even when he makes noise that he was unable to deal with some of these issues, it is also his own incapacities. Something that Harrison touched on